We're rolling. All right. This man's got rehearsal.
Hey, hey!
All right. On the last, I don't know, the last 8 albums, or could have been longer than that. On all the credits, there's always the thing that says, "May you live to see the dawn." Is this the dawn?
My own personal dawn, it is, yes. It's a time period where you figure out where you're going. You've completely judged where you've come from and laid out all the pieces, and you know exactly what it all means at that point.
Okay. Okay. Early on in your career, you even now sometimes you dabble in it. Was the androgynous thing? What I want to know, and with all due respect, was that an act, or were you searching for a sexual identity?
That's a good question. I don't suppose I was searching, really. I think I was just being who I was, being
Okay.
the true Gemini that I am, you know. And there's many sides in that as well. And there was a little acting going on too. You know,
just a tad.
I mean, we'd have the scene where I go hug the bass player, he's a man, and I'd go kiss the keyboard player, she's a woman. You know, we had some of that going on too, but you know, it's rock and roll.
So there's a lot of religion in the music, a lot of spirituality. I mean,
Spirituality, yeah.
I mean, even your first film starts off "Dearly Beloved." It's the first thing we hear. I just want to know: have you ever practiced any organized religion at any point in your life?
No, sir.
Okay.
I mean, I was made to go to church when I was young, and the most thing I got out of that was the experience of the choir. But as far as the message was concerned, a lot of it was based in fear. You know, what will happen to you if you do something bad, and I don't think God is, you know, to be feared that way. You understand what I'm saying?
I totally understand what you're saying.
I think He's a loving God, and I think He'll reward you for that, not punish you for your mistakes.
God doesn't whip His child; He gives him time out.
Amen.
Okay, I want to know, how did your early relationships with women, you know, your mother, your sister, who you refer to in various records, actually affect the music? Because so much of your music is about women. Mm-hmm. God created women, and you know what I mean?
Well, once my mother remarried, she had to, it was during a time period in my life where she had to try to teach me about the birds and the bees. And, you know, it was pretty heavy at the time. And, I learned more than the birds and the bees, I think. And I think it really affected my sexuality a great deal.
Okay.
You know, and over time, you come to find out things on your own. It's not really somebody else's fantasy, it's got to be your own. That took a long time, you know.
Ooh. Okay, we're going good so far.
Happy holy days. You like my house? Just gonna fool around tonight, make a little noise, go on dance, it's cool. Don't sing, let me do that.
Okay, I watched an interview with Mike Tyson recently, where he was watching an old tape of himself. And he said, "I can't beat that guy." When you see old tapes of yourself, I mean, how do you find them intimidating?
No, not
Can
at
you
all.
beat the guy?
No.
Or do you want to beat the guy?
Don't want to beat the guy. You know, I pick up some reviews of my work from time to time, and you'll hear a lot of talk about, will he ever match the success of such and such and such and such? But see, I'm not on that road. I've been in the business 20 years now, and that's a long time. And, you know, I'm still learning. Emancipation is a good indication of that. some of my harshest critics have said there ain't a bad song on it, you know. The songs like Joint to Joint and Style, which one...
Style.
Right.
I like Style a lot.
Right. Which,
I listen to Style. Yeah.
Oh, yeah? You know, which, you know, those type of songs which some people will say is too long. Another person will say those go with the old Prince tracks, you know. So I'm, you know, Purple Rain and that whole situation, Thriller, that whole situation, Like a Virgin, that whole situation. I mean, that was a time period. The Beatles are never going to capture what they did in the beginning. If they continue working, if we all continue working and we all continue growing, I think. And it's our journey, you know. It's not for somebody who doesn't play music to step up and say, you know, that's not as good as.
Okay.
Spirituality, I think true spirituality is, it's just like you were saying before, you know, God's going to give you time out. You know, he's not going to say this is better than that, and, you know, we're all children inside.
So when you're at Warner Brothers, there's a lot of flack for putting out too many albums.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel that if you were an artist in another time period, that you'd be more appreciated? I mean, Mozart, Beethoven probably put out an album every month, the equivalent,
right.
You know, a symphony.
Right.
I mean,
Aretha Franklin, every 3 months there's a new album. James Brown, every 3 months there was a new single and album. You know, yeah, it was. If I'd been in that time period, but then again, competition would have been more fierce too. So, you know, I guess everybody has their moments.
I mean, now you have total artistic freedom.
Total.
Now, do you think that some great art needs boundaries and the artist needs to react to the boundaries? Like some of the great arts, like just figuring out, like me comedically, how do I get around censorship? Sometimes you write the better joke or you write the better song.
That's a good point.
Because you try to get around, I got him.
That's a good
and
point.
It's even more clever.
Yes, and I think some of my earlier work, if, you know, people want to say that it's better, you know, Dearly Beloved, Let's Go Crazy was about God and Satan, you know, me dealing with that dichotomy. I had to change those words up. The de-elevator was Satan in that song. Now I had to change those words up because you couldn't say God on the radio, you know. And Let's Go Crazy was God to me. It was, you know, stay happy, stay focused, and you can beat the de-elevator. Nowadays, you have If God Was One of Us and a lot of things like that. You have the Holy River. It's a much different time period. I must admit, though, I like being able to say exactly,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
The elevator was the devil.
Yeah.
The elevator's a better line.
And
The metaphor is always better than the literal.
Yeah. You know, and as far as your work is concerned, you know, I've seen you and Richard Pryor, and I don't think censorship should be inflicted upon you or him. I think it's you're being honest in what it is that you're portraying, and you know, I've seen you both ways, and I appreciate the honesty myself.
I like the freedom. Oh, so this is a good one now. Me personally, I don't lump people off. You're a singer, you're an author, you're a comedian. I lump us all into writers because we all pretty much up real late, write on a piece of paper, and we choose different things to do it. I think we'd all rather sing, but most of us can't. Which writers, what other art forms have come into your music? I mean, did you know, Richard Pryor, you know, what TV shows, what movies?
Comedians had a great deal of effect on my music, I think. Really in so much as that the bands that I were with, all the bands I've had, we always had those records going on. You know, all the top comedy records. And it was always a challenge to be funny in music. It's always a challenge to have some sort of humor in a song and to make somebody feel good. That's the biggest challenge, I think. That's what I really believe is missing in music today. I think we've lost sight of the fact that music, I believe, was put on earth to enlighten and empower us and make us feel closer to our center. You know?
Now you wrote 10 years ago, 12 years ago. You wrote. I mean, you say enlighten and empower. You wrote "Sign of the Times," which is like, which "Sign of the Times" for that period of time is what has the same impact as what's going on had for that time. I would say, you know, the war record. I mean, "Sign of the Times" is pretty much the first reference to AIDS ever in a record. I mean. So what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say, how does it feel that you wrote this record so long ago, and it's still so on time right now?
Well,
probably more than any of your other songs.
Well, there again, you know, it's part of the evolution. I was growing at that point, and I was getting to a point in my career where I could say anything. You know, I was given that freedom. I attribute a great deal of that to Warner Brothers. They didn't really censor my music. You know, the problems we had were basically with ownership of what it was that I created. You know, like if I'm painting or whatever, I want to be able to sell that, you know, for all of time. You can rent it, you can borrow it, you know, for a little bit. We can all get paid from it, but then, you know, so like I said, here we get up to Holy River. There's no de-elevator. There's no, you know, and then you learn so much. You know, I'm really looking forward to the future now, because to be able to write in complete freedom is, every artist should be able to do it once. I really do believe in it.
Okay. Well, you talked about owning your music and just having complete control of your music. People sing, do covers of your songs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any song that you wrote that is so personal to you that you just don't want anybody to touch it?
No. Once I've done my version of it, it's free. It's all good. I don't mind.
Beatles had the Rolling Stones. Elvis had Jerry Lee Lewis. Early on in your career, who was the guy that you looked at and said, "Oh, I got to get back in the studio"? Did you hear so-and-so?
Yeah.
Let's get in the studio right now. Who did that for you? Everybody's got somebody.
Well, contrary to what a lot of people might believe, it was never somebody who was my contemporary. It was always old
Gotta
records.
be a contemporary.
Yeah, not really. I'm not gonna front today. I ain't gonna front. You'll be here tonight, right?
I'll be here.
Okay. All right. It's gonna be when I pick up Hair by Larry Graham.
Okay.
And you can ask Michelle and Deggio cello, or Rhonda Smith, my bass player. Anybody, when they hear that, what do they want to do? It makes you want to pick up the bass again.
Okay.
And keep that going, because that's what made me want to play the bass. And if I do that, and that inspires me to do something that's as cool, maybe some kid will pick the bass back up again instead of sampling Larry Graham.
Okay. You didn't have, and cut it out or whatever. There was never like any rivalry between you and Mr. Jackson?
Oh, not to me, no.
Okay.
I'm a musician. I live for that. I live for playing and creating songs. So, when you get a bunch of musicians around, they don't think of that unless, you're talking about Larry Graham or Sly or somebody like that who actually puts their hands down or something.
Okay. That's
what's frightening to us. How did he put that note in that chord, and then the bass harmonized in that place? It goes a lot deeper.
So you're on the road now.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of the greatest live performers ever.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, you really are. I mean, you talk about owning your music. I think the thing you have that's worth more than anything else that you have is your reputation as a live performer. How do you prepare for a tour? I mean, is it anything extraordinary? Is it, like when I prepare, you know, if I'm gonna do a special or album or something, it's like there's things I won't listen to. There's books I'm gonna read. There's sleep patterns and all sorts of things. I
Right.
mean, what,
Well, there's a great book I'm reading called The Seat of the Soul, which talks about the personality and the soul, the differences between the two. And I've really been into that because I got a lot of Gemini in me, and I can hear I can hear a voice in there talking, and you know, it's just I gotta always listen as to where it's coming from. You know, the voice will sometimes say, play what makes you feel the best, play the new music, play where you are now. Emancipation's 3 hours long. You know, it's 36 songs. That would fill up a show. I would love to do that the whole time. Now, that's 3 hours. But, you know, the fans I have, well, friends, I don't like to call them fans because that's short for fanatic, but the friends that I have that come to the shows, they're just, it's beauty personified.
this is beautiful. You're absolutely right.
And I gotta give them what they want.
Basketball fan.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball friend. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite team? Who's your favorite player?
I'd have to say Jordan, just because of his focus.
Okay.
And I like the Bulls for their discipline.
Okay.
You know, I run my band like that, and I use basketball as an example in a lot of different instances.
You find your guys who are missing notes, and you know, James
I
Brown.
I used to actually fine them, but I just threaten them with fines now. You know, and
Well, you don't pay him enough.
Well, they have a lot of respect for the music and themselves, so they, you know, they don't like to mess up either. You know, there was a game there recently where Jordan just wasn't on, you know, and he just sat down and put his head down. See, that's, you know, that's because it hurt his soul. You could just tell, you know, and that's what I want out of a musician. I want them to realize that music it's important to all of us, you know, and it can't be disrespected.
Same way with comedy. Okay, you're familiar with the Traveling Wilburys? The George
Dylan,
Harrison,
yeah, uh-huh.
Bob Dylan,
Mm-hmm.
all those guys. Now, if you could assemble your supergroup
Mm-hmm.
of your contemporaries, they have to be of contemporaries and no one who's been in any of your bands. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
give you Sheila E. Who would you get?
That's a good question. I've seen this one on the internet before. The interesting thing is, you know, and without sounding too arrogant, is that I've really had some of the greatest musicians in
I
my
know
band.
you have.
Yeah. I'd have Wendy and Lisa back.
Come on, man. We knew you were going to say that.
Well, we'd have Sheila E. on the drums. You got to do that.
I'll give you Sheila.
I'll take it back. Sheila E. on percussion. I have Michael Bland playing drums.
Okay.
And then on the bass, and see, man, that's hard. You know, Rhonda
Larry
Smith.
Graham?
No, Rhonda Smith. Because she learned from Larry. You know, she's trying to
Okay.
take it to the next level.
Okay.
I'd have her doing that. Oh man, I'd have the band I got now.
I knew he was going to do that.
Well, you got to come tonight and check it out.
Arr! Arr! I'm almost done, man. Tell us what your new charity's about.
Love for One Another charities are nonprofit organization that basically I come do a show and people pay to see that show. We take all of the money. It's not portions of the proceeds, but all of the money goes into the foundation, and we take care of children in need. We have plans to build a school and a dream to build a hospital one day. And it's been, the concept for it has been going on about a year now, but you know, my soul will say that it's been going on for thousands of years, and I'm just manifesting it now. So it's much more rewarding to do a concert this way. I can't tell you, it's completely different. And I've been afforded the luxury where I don't, you know, I'm not in financial straits, and thanks to a lot of good people in my past, you know, to be able to be the catalyst for something like this is very important to me.
Thank you. I think this
Thank
is
you.
cool. Did you say everything you want to say?
Yes, sir. You asked it all.